All right, hi guys. So at this point, you should have gone through the homework from last night, 1, 2, 3, and number 5. Number 9, if you didn't go through it today, don't worry about it. We're going to go through it a little bit tomorrow. But right now, what we're going to do is we're going to take some time and we're going to go through our next lesson. The sub should have handed out lesson 2 reteach, which is about volume of triangular prisms. A triangular prism is simply just a shape, a three-dimensional shape that has a triangle as a base, and it also has a parallel side that's a triangle. As you can see here, there are some different shapes here. We have a triangular prism right there, another one there, another one there. I want you to have this sheet of paper out. We're going to take some notes. I need you to copy down what I have on here on your piece of paper. At any point, if you need to go ahead and pause the video to make sure you get the correct notes, pause the video. Yes, you may use a calculator. If you don't have one, make sure that you raise your hand nicely and ask the sub if you can go borrow one. All right, so a triangular prism. We're finding volume of it. So we learned that finding the volume of prisms, all you have to do is you have to find the area of the base and you times it by the height of the entire prism. Now, we have to remember though, with a triangular prism, a triangle has dimensions that are base and height as well. So now we have two different heights. So we're going to differentiate these two things. So first thing we want to differentiate is the fact that it says volume equals capital B, which means the area of the base, times the height. We need to remember that that capital B means area of the triangle. And then we need to remember that that H isn't talking about anything in the triangle. It's talking about the height of the prism. The height of the prism is figured out by looking at the distance between the two triangles. So here you see this one, and the height is connecting your two triangles here. So we need to remember that. Now, if I look back over here, it says where capital B, which is the area of the base, is half times base times height. We sometimes use that formula for finding the area of triangles. However, sometimes we also use this one. So I want you to make sure that you have that one written down as well, where it's base times height divided by 2. Then I want you to write down this formula. This formula is simply just a version of volume equals area of base times height, but we actually wrote out how we're going to find the area of the base times the height, and we're using this formula instead. Just because it takes away a step, we know that the area of the base is a triangle, so we go ahead and we just write the area of the triangle's formula. All right, I'm going to scroll down here for a second. It's a little slow, a little delayed. It's going too far now. All right, so example 1 says, find the volume of the triangular prism. So this is your triangular prism. You'll notice that the triangles aren't necessarily on bottom, even though the triangle is called the base, but that's okay. We have two sides that are parallel that are triangles, which is why it's called a triangular prism. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to write the formula. So we're going to write the formula. That's going to be our first step. It's always going to be our first step. It lets us know what we're doing and how we're doing it. So it's volume equals base times height divided by 2. That's my triangle. Times the height of the prism. That's the distance between the two triangles. So if I look over here at the shape, the triangle is there. So when I'm looking to fill in the B and the H for the triangle part, it's right there. Remember, B and H, base and height, have to make a 90-degree angle, and you'll see that 90-degree angle marked right there. The two lines that make that 90-degree angle are those two. Then we have H, which, if we remember from just a minute ago, height of the prism is the distance between the two triangles. Well, here's a triangle, and here's a triangle. The distance between them is this one. You'll notice I'll be drawing on all of these prisms. If you'd like to draw on your prisms as well, that's usually beneficial. It's a nice visual cue of what the numbers are that go where. So after we figured out our formula, we figured out where all of these numbers are, our next step is going to be fill it in. So our base and height divided by 2, the triangle section, is going to be 4 and 5. Now you're going to say, Ms. Schultz, can I do the 4 times 5 divided by 2? And yes, you can. Switching those two is not a big deal. And then we're going to times it by 8 because that's the distance between them. Step 3. We're going to solve for just that triangle, just doing that 5 times 4 divided by 2. That equals 10. And then we just simply drop down the times 8 because we haven't done anything with it yet. Our step 4 is simply just solve it. Solve for the volume of the prism. Volume equals 80 inches cubed because 10 times 8 is 80. It's going to be inches cubed because it's volume. Volume is 3-dimensional and it's going to be cubed. Next, we have another one. It says find the volume of the triangular prism. Anyone remember what the first step is? Obviously, write the formula. So I went ahead and I wrote the formula again. You should be writing it as well. I then am going to look, where's my triangle? My triangle's right there. And then I'm going to look the height of the entire prism that's connecting this triangle and this triangle would be this line. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fill it in. And I have 8 times 7 divided by 2, which gives me my triangle, timesing it by 6, the height of the entire prism. All right. Once I have that, I'm going to solve for my triangle, which 8 times 7 divided by 2 is 28. And then I'm going to have right times 6 because I haven't done anything with it yet. My step 4, solve it. I get 168 inches cubed. Oh, that should say feet. Feet cubed. Sorry, I don't think I ever changed my labels. I just left them. So sorry about that. If you want to fix yours, that would be fantastic. But that should be feet cubed. All right. So there we have it. That's how we're going to be solving volume of triangular prisms. Again, we're finding the area of the base and then we're timesing it by the height because we're trying to fill it all in. Flip that page over. We're going to take a couple more notes, but these are going to be more of you. So I'm going to need you to be able to pause this video and things like that. So, and give it a go on your own to see if you can get the correct answer as well. But before we do that, let's read the directions. Find the volume of each prism. Round to the nearest tenth if necessary. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do, I want you to write your 4 steps. Write the formula. Fill it in. Solve for the triangle. Solve for the prism. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and do number 1 and hit pause. Hit pause and do number 1 right now. I'm going to go ahead and go through the answer so that you can see if you got it correct. So at this point, you should have already done number 1. If not, pause. But you should have already done number 1, and you should have gotten an answer, 168. Again, looking for the triangle piece to fill in, I would have used 8 and 7, and the height was 6. Anyone notice this was the exact same problem? Oh, my one line is not. Oh, I drew this line. There you go. Which is actually the exact same as that one. If you notice, this was actually the exact same problem we just did. So you should have gotten 168, and again, it should be feet cubed. All right, now if you got that correct, great. It's time for you to move on. If you didn't get that correct, I want you to go back and try and do one of the problems with me that I just did prior. If you got it right, I want you to do number 2 and hit pause because I'm going to go through the answer right now. So at this point, you should have number 2 done. and you should have gotten 70, and it should be meters cubed. Meters cubed. The next one will be right because that's in inches, but all of my labels are wrong. But this should be meters cubed. You should have realized that the triangle was here and used 4 and 5 for your triangle. And then you would have used 7 for the height of the prism because that connects your two triangles. Okay, and last but definitely not least, you're going to do number 3. Hit pause. Go ahead and try and get the answer. You should have gotten 360 inches cubed. If you got 360 inches cubed, you are well on your way to doing all of these perfectly great. Once you are done with this, you understand it, go ahead, raise your hand, ask the sub for a worksheet. She's going to give you a worksheet that looks like this. And I want you to go ahead and get started. You're going to make sure that you are showing all of your work. You will notice there are some decimals here. I don't believe I gave you any ones with fractions for today, but I did give you ones with decimals. What I want you to pay attention to, hopefully you're still listening, what I want you to pay attention to is number 10. You actually don't have to do that step 3. They give you the area of the triangle. See right here? They actually give you the area of the triangle. They say, hey, the base of the triangular door wedge has an area of 55. They did that one step for you. It's a big hint for you. Otherwise, I want you to go ahead, get started on your homework. If you need to replay anything, feel free to replay. And if you have any questions, I'm sure the sub is more than happy to answer them. Just go ahead and raise your hand and ask.